But it was never about just, well, you only got a choice of voting for Bush, but everything will be okay if you vote for a Democrat. No, we understood. In putting that book together, that this was an opportunity to educate people about how these power elites, these elite families, how they operate and where they're coming from. And they're not coming from a very nice place. The connections to Nazism are very, very deep, and they continue to the present day.
Yeah, and Mack, your website, is mackwhite.com?
Mackwhite.com, Mackwhite.com. And you mentioned the radio show that I do with Smiles Lewis, PsyOp Radio. We have a website for that. That's PSIOPRADIO, PsyOp Radio, PsyOpRadio.com.
Yeah, and we did try to get Smiles Lewis on the show as well today, who's also been on a few times, and he had prior commitment, but we'll get him another time as well, because he always mixes it up and makes it quite interesting. Very articulate young fellow.
Yes, he is.
But anyway, let's... we kind of gave our sort of feelings about what was going on here, and Mack, you talked a little bit about the Austin group there. And Robert, have you checked out anything with? Is there a group happening there in Las Vegas? Or?
Yeah. Although this being Las Vegas, it's certainly not on the level of Austin or Riverside or anywhere in the Los Angeles, because, people are too busy gambling and getting drunk on free comps here. But, there's actually going to be a protest downtown this weekend and everything, and, there is some sort of movement here. I mean, I can tell you from talking to people and working with people, there is awareness, and among the blue-collar people, there's a general support for what's going on around the nation right now.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I live kind of in a sort of smaller town for Southern California called Temecula, and it's in some people even refer to it as Southern California's Bible Belt, and very, very conservative and very supportive of politicians like George W. Bush, but they had a group. I just heard this secondhand. It was on one of the major street corners there. There were, I don't know, a handful maybe, 50 people or something that were out on a corner there with signs in support of the Occupy Wall Street movement. So I was rather pleasantly surprised by that. And so this is spreading, and I don't know if either of you have any numbers on this, but it from what I can gather, it was the first thing that happened. It was just right about a month ago in Wall Street. It was about 200 people that first day, and now here we are about a month later, and we've got it's at least in hundreds of cities this is going on now, and there are thousands of people at some of these events, and certainly hundreds. And either of you have a sense on that, Mack? Do you have a sense on the numbers and how that's grown over the past month?
Well, here in Austin, the numbers have fluctuated. On the first day, there were, the local media was reporting about 1,300. I was there. I would have put it possibly as high as 2,000. It fluctuates throughout the week. But I'll tell you something here. Since you asked me about Occupy Austin, we had 4 arrests here yesterday. This was because the police were sent in there to make sure that the park by City Hall, where Occupy Austin is happening, that it could be cleaned. And 4 persons refused to move, and they were arrested. And the others, went across the street and waited till it was cleaned, and then they were able to go back in. Okay, fine. But since you and I talked earlier today, Robert, I found out that a similar cleanup move is planned for Wall Street. Mayor Bloomberg has announced that, they need to go in there and clean the place after a few weeks. And he wants everyone to get out of the way. Only one problem. They're not going to be allowed to come back in with any kind of camping equipment, anything that will allow them to stay more than a night. This cleanup movement is an attempt to crush Occupation Wall Street. It's been denounced already by Salman Rushdie as a outrage against liberty, and so many others. And there are petitions being circulated, and you can call the New York office. If you go to the Wall Street, the Occupy Wall Street Facebook page, they've got the numbers there. You can call the New York City office there, and you can that Mayor Bloomberg not shut this thing down, because that's what it looks like. And there's a plan there in New York for tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. when this cleanup operation is supposed to happen. They're going to form a human chain to prevent it happening. So a confrontation is looming there in New York. There have been similar attempts to shut them down. There was a warning issued, I understand, to Occupy Trenton, New Jersey. There was trouble in Boston over a similar issue. So that's what we're looking at here, is what's going to happen tomorrow on Wall Street.
Yeah, I have heard about this, and it's weird. On the one hand, I'm like, whoa, that's nice. They want to clean the park and make it nice for the demonstrators to come back. But as you're saying there, Mack, this could be a sort of pretext for, if they can't stay overnight, some of them are going to leave. It's going to make it more difficult for them to stay long term. If they go home, they may not come back. And, so Robert, how do you feel about that?
Well, in some ways, I think this is going to backfire because, honestly, the last thing I think Bloomberg or anyone wants to do, and I was almost like I'm giving them free advice here, but the worst thing they could do is to create martyrdom, to create sympathy for protesters and turn them into, victims. And that seems precisely what they're going to lead up, because I imagine some people are going to refuse, and then we're going to see police beat people, and that's exactly not the move they want to do. If they really wanted to kill this movement, they'd to his credit, Obama's doing the right thing in that sense, is that he's saying, yeah, I agree with it, and here's my lame mainstream half-ass reformed thing on Wall Street finances that's going to solve the issue, which really doesn't solve the issue, but it's more like marginalizing it by making it into, all their demands into some half-ass Democratic Party checklist. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens. If, paradoxically, the best thing that you can do for the people who are in this movement is beat them, because then people will no longer, will have to have a lot more sympathy for them than they are right now.
Well, yeah, that was, I think, certainly the case with the civil rights movement when people started seeing these demonstrators then being sprayed with, what do you call them, water cannons and being beaten and all of that. People all the way up to the federal government and the White House determined that we have to make some changes here. Starting point of something where we don't have to go into all these details, but this is the general thing that we want. And I don't know, Robert Sterling, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'll just give you my Cliff Notes thing, because I know I don't want to bogart the remaining time here, but, we could talk about what kind of message, and I would agree it's a little fuzzy. Of course, they're being two-faced, too, because I guarantee you if they did give a specific message, they would say it isn't unifying, it's divisive, it doesn't represent everything. So, either way you're going to get ripped, and if somebody's going to hate you no matter what you do, you might as well just give them a good reason for hating you, is my feeling. And, I would say this, even if they don't have a good idea of what they're for, they have a real good idea of what they're against, and, to paraphrase Marlon Brando in The Wild Ones when they asked him, when he's asked, what are you rebelling against? And he said, what do you got? So we're already a step ahead of Marlon Brando in the 50s. So that's pretty good track record right there. So we'll see how it goes. I'm a little cynical, as always, of how things will evolve, but at the very least, these are the right first steps. And it's, if anything, my criticism, it's too little, too late.
And Mack, do you have anything quickly to add to that?
Well, corporate ownership of the U.S. Equals fascism. That's the very definition. We just want fascism out of America. It's that simple. The media, or certain elements in the media, are trying to characterize this as something that it's just a hippie thing. No. Small business owners, the middle class, the elderly, the homeless, the disabled, our children's future. That's what's at stake here. And it's not just one issue. When you lump everything under the one big banner of fascism in America, it's not just one issue. It's not just the $1 trillion of socialism that for the rich, while we have to carry the burden, with the cuts to social services and what have you. It's not just about student loan debt or student loan slavery. It's about so many other things. And it's not just about the Bank of America foreclosing on people who are paying their bills. It's not just about, crony capitalism in general. It's not just about, British Petroleum destroying the Gulf of Mexico and walking away scot-free. It's about everything that falls under that banner of, fascism in America. It's about the phony, criminal war on drugs, the phony, criminal war on terror. It's about torture, and it's about these expensive, morally reprehensible wars. But most of all, it's about stealing our children's future. We were supposed to come into this world, so that we would leave this world a better place for our children. Well, look around you. It's not going to be a better place the way things are going. Mm-hmm. And you can't sum that up in one demand. But if you're going to find, one, thing to say, it's we don't want fascism in America.